All right, awesome. Hey guys, welcome to Let's Talk. And today we're going to be talking about Book of Boba Fett Episode 5 review. Wow, what an episode. So, as I kind of suspected, we're seeing the Mandalorian and kind of catching up with what he's been doing this whole time. So, that I thought was a potential for what was going to happen this episode. Either we were going to see Boba Fett recruit Mando, or we were going to catch up with Mando and kind of get him caught up to Book of Boba Fett. What I wasn't expecting was how many gold nuggets are in this episode. I mean, holy crap! I think there's got to be a solid big reference every 10 minutes or so. Um, anyways, we start out in this kind of meat locker, and Boba Fett's catching a bounty. I'm sorry, the Mandalorian Din Djarin is back. He's catching a bounty. He uses his dark saber. Um, so there was a quick, awesome little fight scene there. He gets injured. I can't remember if he's injured in the fight because of them or because of a mistake that he makes with the dark saber. I think it was the dark saber. I'd have to go back and look at that. But anyways, great way to start off the episode. We then find out that he's basically on this space station that's like a giant ring. Now we have seen those before or similar things to that in Star Wars. I know in the Clone Wars, the Separatists would have these, I think, ring blockades around planets. Um, and then it also kind of reminded me of a space station in Knights of the Old Republic 2. That's what I thought of the most. I believe it's around the second area that you go to in that game. I got a lot of similar vibes from that. So, anyways, we see him. He turns in the bounty, and we find out that he is looking for a Mandalorian enclave, and not just any Mandalorian enclave. We finally get to catch up with the Armorer and Paz Vizsla. Um, it was really interesting because Din Djarin has grown a lot in the past season, and when we catch up to him and he's talking to the armorer, it's like he goes right back into that kind of mode. So it's like he's learned that not all Mandalorians take off their helmets. He's learned that they're not every Mandalorian subscribes to the way, and in fact, many, probably most Mandalorians don't subscribe to the way. But when he goes back to the armor, he goes right back into it. And as we talk about later, it just seems like that the way is very much ingrained in him and a part of him. So I thought that was interesting. I wasn't sure how things would have how things were going to be between him and the armorer. Um, I think there's still a lot to explore there. So we get to see them, and we get a lot of lore, a lot of Mandalorian lore for the Book of Boba Fett. You'd think it'd be kind of something that they drop in Mandalorian season 3, but nope, it's right here in the Book of Boba Fett. And I got some stuff for that later, but I think if nothing else, that just goes to say that when they were saying that Book of Boba Fett was Mandalorian season 2.5, they were probably just referring to this episode and the future. Um, anyways, we get a flashback of the Night of 1,000 Tears. We get to see what that is all about. We get to see Mandalore get bombed by hundreds of Imperial bombers. Then they have droids executing people on the ground, and we actually see what I believe is Sundari, the capital of Mandalore, just get completely destroyed. And so I imagine all of this is following what happens when Bo-Katan gets the dark saber, and the armor even refers to it that because that she did not earn the dark saber, that there is that Mandalorian lore essentially says that that is going to befall great tragedy because she did not earn it in single combat. So that was really interesting. I'd be curious to hear Bo-Katan's side of things. Um, but anyways, we get that lore, and then we get the beginning, just the very beginning of Din Djarin's training with the dark saber, and it was very much a callback to Sabine training with the dark saber, and which is interesting because he gets challenged. As you might expect, I mean, as soon as Din Djarin got the dark saber, we know that other Mandalorians are going to challenge, and who would be the first person to challenge him but Paz Vizsla, um, which makes sense because they dropped Tor Vizsla, who we haven't really heard much about since Star Wars Rebels, and he was the Mandalorian who forged the dark saber. He's the original owner of the dark saber. And I believe he was the first Mandalorian Jedi. So big deal. They drop his name again. Obviously, great ancestor of Paz Vizsla. Um, and so he's the first to challenge. Paz Vizsla does not succeed. It was cool. He has his vibro knife, and he also had one of those kind of buckler energy shields that we saw the Mandalorians use in the Clone Wars. So that was good. However, the duel ends, and it results in the Din Djarin confessing to the armorer that he has taken off his helmet, and like that, he is out of the clan. Um, so while I'm not surprised that happened, that was kind of like we were waiting for that to happen. It was interesting that you know I, Din Djarin being kind of like I thought he was a bigger deal to the clan than I thought. He goes on this great quest. He comes back with the dark saber, but as soon as he takes off as soon as the armor finds out he takes off the helmet, it's like you're done, you're out, no explanation, nothing. Um, so I thought that was interesting, and they also let him walk away with the dark saber. It kind of makes sense because there's only one way to earn it. I was almost expecting the armor to maybe challenge him, and if she did, she totally would have won. Um, However, we'll see. We might. I think we're gonna get more of the armor in season 3. I'd love to hear more of her thoughts. So it's just interesting. They let him walk away without taking the dark saber, without explanation, but they also the armor lets him walk away without any challenge. So yeah, all really interesting stuff. Oh, one tidbit that I forgot about is that they get rid of the spear. I thought it was interesting that he was clunking that thing around after he had the dark saber, but of course he doesn't have a ship or anything to put it on, so it makes sense. But they forge the spear into a bunch of Beskar rings for Grogu. And so we're not sure as to what it is yet. It's kind of wrapped up. Um, so I think there's two things that I can think of it being. The first is that it would be kind of like a Beskar chainmail for him to wear. However, I don't really see that being the case just because even though Grogu is not going to grow too much more, it would just be something he'd grow out of, and then it'd be kind of useless. The other thing that it more likely is possibly just like a Beskar necklace for Grogu to wear that might kind of be something for him to remember Din Djarin by. So those are the two things I can think of. If you guys have any thoughts on that, let me know. I feel like there's probably some other things that I'm not thinking of. I think the necklace makes more sense as to just something a Jedi could wear that wouldn't be a hindrance on him. However, chainmail would actually offer him protection. Um, so yeah, let me know. Be interesting. I don't think we've gotten chainmail in Star Wars before. So if that is the case, then we get some Beskar chainmail. Awesome. All right, so moving on, he takes public transport to Tatooine, and I thought that this was interesting because he has to relinquish all of his weapons. Um, and so there you go. There's the benefit of driving around in your own vehicle in your own starship is that you get to keep your weapons around. So if you want to be a bounty hunter, you shouldn't take public transportation. He even relinquishes the dark saber up into the custody, the care, the not the carry-on luggage, but the luggage for the transportation. I thought that was really interesting. If you've ever taken something super valuable traveling, it was like, okay, yep, that's exactly how I feel. Is you get that case and you're checking everything as soon as you get it. So I thought that was kind of funny. Um, so he gets to Tatooine. Of course, we know who he's seeing, Pelimoto. Um, and all this felt good. It just felt like we're back in it. We're back with Mando. It feels good. Um, it felt like being with old friends, if you will. Um, and so of course we get the rumored N1 Starfighter, and I was super happy about this. I think N1 Starfighter is great for Din Djarin. You know, he loves the classic ships, he loves the old ships, and so it kind of makes sense. Obviously, like he says, it's no Razor Crest. He's not going to have the storage that he has, but they make it really cool. Essentially, the end product that we get is kind of like what would an N1 Starfighter look like if it was flying with the Rebellion. So, excuse me, like the Y wings that we get in the Rebellion, those aren't like the original Y wings. Those are the broken down Y wings. They got exposed plating and everything. The armor shell, the original sleek version that the was used by the clones in the Clone Wars, is kind of stripped down, and that's the version that the rebels use, and that's kind of what we get with this N1 Starfighter. It's heavily modded, but it's missing a lot of its exterior, and it's also Mando gives it like the same paint job as the Razor Crest, where he kind of he sands off the yellow paint, just leaving a little streak like the Razor Crest have, and so it's got a chrome exterior. It looks great. I was kind of when I heard about the N1 Starfighter, I was kind of hoping that he'd do something like that, that it would look a little different, just because I thought the plain yellow wouldn't exactly just go with him as a character. And so you kind of just see that in a lot of starships, that the starships kind of reflect the people. And so they did an excellent job of that, and a lot of good references in this scene. You know, a lot of people don't like Pelimoto, but I think at this point it's just kind of fun to see her. She's got a BD droid, so that's an awesome Jedi Fallen Order. I believe a lot of like the little rats and creatures that are roaming around the starship, I believe those are also from Jedi Fallen Order. So it's always we've been getting a lot of little Jedi Fallen Order references. Um, so those are really good, and of course you get the pit droids, you get RD5, you get some more Jawas, and then as he's doing the test flight, he's going through Beggar's Canyon. He's going through the route, the some of the route of the pod racing route that Anakin went through. That was so awesome to see. Even just to get in the cockpit and the noises that the ship was making, and just all those little details. It was super Phantom Menace, and I loved everything about it. It was awesome. It was great. I'm glad that they paid attention to that. And then he gets pulled over again. Classic Mando. He's getting pulled over by the New Republic. We've got the old Republic officer. I can't remember his name, but he's back. It was good to see him. It was like they're pulling all the stops for bringing back Mando. It was like they knew exactly what they were doing. And then finally he lands, and Fennec Shan reaches out to him. Um, and he's like, "Oh, this is for Boba Fett. It's on the house." I thought that was great. I love that he's kind of because I felt like Boba Fett kind of went above and beyond in the Mandalorian season 2, and it was all for our benefit. We got to see Boba Fett. We got to have Mando fly around in the Slave One. All of that stuff was awesome, but it was kind of like Boba Fett got his armor back. Um, he really went above and beyond to help him get back Grogu. It felt like a lot on Boba's part, so I'm glad to see that Din is kind of up for the fight. So, and then, oh yeah, last part is, hey, I'm gonna help you out, but before I do, I gotta see someone. So, again, they're leaving us on a tease that like, hey, we're gonna see Grogu next episode. Um, so all this is super awesome. I love everything about this episode. I love all the lore, um, and so it kind of brings up um, just a small gripe that I have, and we'll see because we still got 2 more episodes to go, but I thought it was really interesting. In Book of Boba Fett, we only have 7 episodes, and now one of those episodes is devoted entirely to catching up to Din Djarin, which I'm fine with. This is an awesome episode. It's got so much lore, but it's interesting that we've got one less episode. One's completely devoted to Din Djarin, and it's Boba Fett's show. And this episode had no Boba Fett whatsoever. And so I think a lot of people are going to be like, "Cool, we get a break from Boba Fett. I just want to see Din Djarin." Understandable, because Mandalorian is the #1 show. Um, However, this is Boba Fett's show, and I came here for Boba Fett, and so while I get that it's Mandalorian season 2.5, it's also Boba Fett's thing. And so I am hoping that this pays off. And so I thought it was really interesting that we got a lot of Mandalorian lore. I think we've probably gotten more Mandalorian lore in this episode than probably any other episode. It's like we've gotten a lot of references. In Mandalorian season one, you got like a lot of small bits of Mandalorian lore throughout the series. Same with Mandalorian 2. Anytime the armorer or Bo-Katan would come up, you'd get like little bits of Mandalorian lore. And this one, they just drop it. You finally get to see, okay, this is what happened at the Night of a Thousand Tears. You're dropping Tor Vizsla's name. You're dropping kind of the armorer's take on Bo-Katan and her failure. All these things, they're super interesting. They're super awesome. It's a lot to drop on the Book of Boba Fett show. Now, I dropped a video yesterday talking about who I thought the next Mandalore was going to be. And as soon as I saw this episode, I'm already thinking, man, I should have brought up the armorer. I should have brought up Paz Vizsla, even if nothing else for a reference, because those are all viable options. Um, however, all this lore getting dropped on Boba Fett's show maybe kind of strengthens the idea that Boba Fett could be the next Mandalore. Now, again, I still don't think that's the most viable option. I still think it's going to be Mando. I think a big part of his arc is going to be learning how to use the dark saber. He's got a lot to go in that area. I'm curious if we'll get more of that maybe in this season of actually, he's going to Grogu. So that means we're probably going to see Luke Skywalker too. Uh, and I feel like if we go and he has the dark saber and he brings it to Luke Skywalker, I feel like there's going to be a little bit of training that we're going to get. So we're probably going to get a lot more of Mando next episode before we even kind of get to Boba Fett dealing with the Pikes. So again, great episode. I do have a little bit of gripe in that we're taking up a lot of time in Book of Boba Fett for Mando. So I'm hoping that pays off, and I'm hoping that Boba Fett gets to shine a light maybe in Mando's show a bit. Um, but yeah, love the episode. For next week's episode, of course, excited to see Grogu, probably Luke Skywalker, maybe some dark saber training. And then we've also this next week's episode is Dave Filoni's episode. Um, so you know, I don't know. Is Ahsoka hanging out with Luke Skywalker? Maybe, probably not. Are we going to see Rex? Are we going to see Cad Bane? My guess is Cad Bane. I think when Dave Filoni directed season two's episode, we kind of were like, "Yep, that's the episode that Ahsoka's showing up in." And so I think it's fitting that if Cad Bane's going to show up, Dave Filoni's going to be the guy that introduces him. Now, there's still a lot of speculation of who else is Boba Fett going to hire. Mando's awesome, but I feel like with between the Mod Gang and between Black Chrysanthemum and Mando, that's decent, but that's not really enough to fight a war. Of course, you got Boba Fett, and maybe Boba Fett's going to pull the guns out, and he's like, "Yeah, that's enough because I'm my own freaking army." I'd love to see that, but I feel like there's still kind of an opportunity to get some more muscle. Um, are we going to see Bosk? Maybe Dengar. Personally, I'd love to see Dengar. I'd also love to see Bosk. I think he'd be a little bit better on the Pike side. It'd be cool to see him go up against Black Chrysanthemum. Um, so we'll see. I mean, maybe we're going to kind of be one for one, for you got the Gamorreans and the Mod Gang, and maybe they're going to be going up just the standard Pike troops or whatever, and we got Boss to go up against Black Chrysanthemum, Cad Bane to go against Boba Fett, and then maybe there's another guy who could go against Din Djarin. We'll see. So, anyways, those are just some thoughts of mine. Post down some thoughts of yours. What did you guys think of this episode? Um, how do you think the next episode's going to go? And what are you hoping to see from Boba Fett and Mando and their team up? All right, guys. I will talk to you later. Peace out.